All right, so President Trump the other day, former President Trump the other day, said, I have a big announcement coming. And then when he laid it out, it was, I'm doing scam NFTs to rob my own supporters. Now, what many people don't realize that at around the same time, he did another announcement, which was policy-focused. Now, you know, if he wasn't an idiot, he would have said the big announcement was the policy thing, right? But I think he cares more about shaking down people for millions of dollars than he does about anything involving policy, which is why he said the NFT thing was the big announcement. But the policy announcement was on free speech. So, you know, he sees the Twitter files coming out and he's using that as justification for, you know, his stance on social media for all this time. Now, of course, that's bullshit for the very simple reason that in the first Twitter files dump, what we learned is not only did the Biden campaign ask Twitter to take some stuff down, also the Trump White House asked Twitter to take some stuff down. Now, Taibbi didn't give us any specifics on that. He should have. I don't know if Musk didn't give him the stuff that Trump asked to get taken down, but that needs to be demonstrated. We need to see exactly what it was Trump wanted taken down, because then you have actual First Amendment concerns with the White House pressuring social media to take stuff down. So he partook in this censorship, banning, deplatforming spree, and now he's pretending like he didn't, right? And by the way, I should add that the stuff the Biden campaign asked Twitter to take down was literally Hunter Biden revenge porn. It was dick pics of Hunter, which is fair game to get taken down because it's illegal in a bunch of states anyway, revenge porn. So he's taking the bullshit narrative and running with it and not telling you any of the nuance, not telling you he was involved in it. But here's Donald Trump Jr. He says, breaking, President Trump announces free speech policy plan for 2024. So let's go through this. I'll tell you what I support and what I don't support, and then I'll tell you Trump's actual record on free speech issues. So, restoring free speech overview. Ban federal agencies from colluding to censor American citizens. On that, totally agree. Again, he doesn't agree because his actions did the opposite. His actions were, hey, ban the things I don't like. But in a vacuum, this language I totally agree with. Ban taxpayer dollars from being used to label speech as mis or disinformation. Totally agree. Fire every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship. Agree. Immediately send preservation letters to Biden administration and big tech giants. I don't know what that means, but sounds fine. It should also be sent to Trump officials, though, because, again, he engaged in this. Order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in online censorship regime and prosecute any and all crimes identified. Agreed, which is why Trump, you may be prosecuted under this. Revise Section 230 to drastically curtail big platforms' power to restrict lawful speech. This one, I totally disagree, because the right doesn't understand what would happen if you revoke Section 230. If you revoke Section 230, there would be more censorship, not less censorship. Section 230 allows these social media companies to say, hey, we're not like the New York Times or the Washington Post or a publication that actually, you know, edits stuff and filters stuff and changes stuff and gets involved in what our posters say. We're just like a bathroom wall. People come and post whatever they want, and we don't get involved in being a middleman and facilitating what's allowed to be seen and what's not allowed to be seen. If you revise Section 230, all the social media outlets will just get rid of anything that might lead to legal liability for them. So anybody who's controversial will be banned. It's amazing to me that that the right-wingers don't realize this, that Section 230 is actually your best friend. Because, you know, a lot of the conservative people will be banned too if you get rid of Section 230, because YouTube's not going to want the lawsuits, Twitter's not going to want the lawsuits that come along with conservative idiots posting anti-vax stuff, right? And then somebody listens to them, they die, and then they get sued. Hey, your misinformation led to my grandma dying, whatever the fuck. That's what happens. We should all be pro Section 230, not anti. Okay, anyway. Stop federal funding for all nonprofits and academic programs engaged in censorship. Agreed. Suspend federal dollars to any university that has engaged in censorship support activities. Enact criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to violate your constitutional rights. This is all fine. Impose a 7-year cooling off period before former intel and national security officials can work at big tech platforms. I'd be fine with banning them completely from working at big tech platforms. Pass a digital bill of rights. I agree with that too. However, I should point out, Donald Trump, when he was president, signed a bill which destroyed your online privacy rights. It was a bill that literally had less than a 10% approval rating, and he signed it. Why? Because the corporations that fund him wanted him to sign that. Because they want to get everybody's data. Okay, so, look, most of these things in a vacuum, perfectly agreeable. You know, it's pro-free speech or whatever. But Trump engaged in a lot of the same shit that he's pretending to be against now. So, I responded to Don Jr. and laid it out. Your dad said flag burning should be punished with a year in jail. Not only is that anti-free speech, that is literally the opposite of the precedent set by the Supreme Court. Even right-wing justices like Antonin Scalia said, I might not like speech banning, but it's perfectly constitutional. This is protected by the First Amendment. Trump's against that. Anti-free speech. Trump said, open up the libel laws to sue the media. He sued CNN for $475 million because of their mean coverage of him. He sued Bill Maher over a joke. And he engaged in the censorship by Twitter of whatever users on there were getting under his skin. So he's comically anti-free speech. All he's doing here is virtue signaling. That's all he's doing. And what people need to start applying is, if somebody says something, take their record and then hold it up against what they're claiming they're in favor of. You have to do that. You have to do that. And a lot of people don't. They'll just take whatever Trump says here at face value and be like, oh, see, he's pro-free speech. My ass cheeks. He's not pro-free speech at all. These people are deep hypocrites. In the same way that Elon Musk virtue signaled that I'm a free speech absolutist, and then he bans all these journalists and he says, you can't even promote other social media platforms, you know, on Twitter. That's as anti-free speech as it fucking gets. So you got to look at people's record, not just their fucking rhetoric. Anyway, Don Jr. cucking for his dad here, and his dad is one of the worst with his record on free speech. Remember, this is a guy who, when we had the George Floyd protests, now some of them were riots, and of course anybody who broke the law was arrested and should have been arrested. If you're burning something down, if you're breaking windows, everybody's in favor of those people getting arrested. But Trump wanted to basically invoke martial law, invoke what's called the Insurrection Act. Not to stop the January 6th stuff, because he kind of wanted that to work. He invoked the Insurrection Act, wanted to do it, send the U.S. Army and U.S. streets to stop protesters who were out there peacefully protesting. He wanted our military with guns, all decked out in their tactical gear, to stop protesters from being in the streets. That's as anti-First Amendment, as anti-free speech as it gets. So, spare me. Spare me your virtue signaling nonsense. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.